Video.
Not for me.
Well, you gotta remove it to blow your nose. That's the, well, you don't have to, but it's.
I have it on quiet.
Oh, man.
Doug, are you out in the swamp?
I think we've only, I think we've only had like 52 positives in Warren County.
72.
That jumped up.
72.
That jumped up quite a bit over the weekend, but I think, I wondered how much of it was. See,
One death.
Jolene doesn't hardly give any information, and she says she can't. I think she can give more than she does, because the governor does.
Well, she had a report on the 14th, which was
Right.
Thursday.
Yeah.
We had 52.
Yeah, well, it jumped up to 88.
Oh, it's
With
88.
yeah, with 57 recovered is what we heard this morning from Jodine, and she's the Warren County Health
Yeah.
person. But what I don't know is of that, where are they at? And because of those large numbers of the week, was it because they went up and got tested and, you know?
Right, are we testing?
Well, actually, when I
more?
talked to her last week, she was saying that numbers were anticipated, but because they are doing more.
More testing, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Because I
Yeah.
thought it seemed odd that Story County and Warren County had way less numbers than Polk County right between both of them. You know, it just always
Wait,
Where they
was
get
odd.
Yeah.
We apparently have had no deaths.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Do you know where they're getting tested? Around Warren County?
oh, I thought there was
I
one.
know in
death.
Des Moines, I don't think there's any testing in Warren
I
County.
thought there was
Huh.
one death.
What's the event?
Huh? No.
Yeah, Iowa Vet Center parking lot.
Oh, that's where they test,
That's, or they can.
if you have the symptoms, but there's no,
No, that's the Test Iowa site.
there's no antibody tested, are there?
No, but you-
No, I don't believe yet. Serology test. I don't need
I
to
still
keep-
think I had, you guys all remember that
Oh,
council
yeah.
meeting where I nearly died and infected
Oh,
all of you
yeah.
probably?
We think you, yeah, we
I'm
think you
sure I
have
had
it.
it. Sure I had it, but none of you got it.
I don't.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm getting better.
Was horrible.
Oh, there.
Oh, my God.
Poor Greta would have gotten.
We got a red
really
light.
Yeah, red light.
Very good. I see that we're ready to go. So if everybody's ready to go, we'll call this meeting to order. Good. Welcome to the City of Indianola Council meeting, May 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. Please join me and rise in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Let's continue with roll call.
Councilmember Hewlin. Here. Parker.
Present.
Kling.
Here.
Schroeder.
Here.
Southall. Here. Marchant.
Present.
Mayor Shaw.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Jackie. We'll move on to public comment. I did not receive any public comment. Don't know if anybody is available there, but Jackie, you want to look around for me?
We did not receive any and there's no one here to speak.
All right, very good. Thank you. We'll move on then to the approval of the consent agenda and then move on to the consent agenda itself. Anything to be pulled tonight, council?
Yes, this is Heather Hewlin, and yes, I need you to pull the claims. Page 14 of claims. It's page 146 on the packet. There, if Ryan, would you like to give a little information on that?
I can do that once we get back. to
Okay.
that item.
Which claim is it, Heather? I'm sorry.
P, isn't it? Item P.
Yeah,
D,
Item P.
as in dog, Greg?
Paul.
No.
P as in Paul.
Paul.
Gotcha. I didn't see anything. Very good. Thank you very much. Anything else, council? Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on then with consent agenda, including the following items. Item A is the approval of agenda. Item B is the May 4, 2020 minutes. Item C are applications, including 5 this evening. Renewal of a refuse hauling permit for Waste Management of Iowa. Number 2 is a Class C liquor license, Class B wine, Class C beer, and Sunday sales privilege for Casey's General Store, number 1623, located at 607 North Jefferson Way. A new Class E liquor license, Class B wine, Class C beer, and Sunday sales privilege for Casey's General Store at number 1908, located at 507 South Jefferson Way. A renewal Class C liquor license and catering privileges for Simpson College, located at 701 North C Street. Item 5 is a new outdoor service liquor license for West Hill Brewery Company, located at 219 West Salem Avenue. Item D is a resolution approving a supplemental agreement with Snyder and Associates for additional work required as part of a certain drainage improvements project. Item E is approval of payment application number 2 from Vanderpool Construction for the Quail Meadows 3 lift station and sewer improvement project in the amount of $115,128.12. Item F is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Bolton and Mank Incorporated for engineering services for the City Square Streetscape Plan. Item G is a resolution approving a request from IMU to waive building permit fees. Item H is a resolution extending a real estate agreement with Iowa Realty for the D&D program lot. Item I is a resolution granting an extension to the development agreement between the City of Indianola, Iowa, and Covered Bridges Coffee Company doing business as Cabin Coffee of Indianola, and Randall D. Hanna and Rebecca S. Hanna individually. Item J is a resolution approving a request for a plat of survey in unincorporated Warren County. Item K is a resolution approving a request for a preliminary plat for Ashton Park, Plat 7. Item L is to receive and file a letter from Carl Alexander at 505 West 2nd Avenue, requesting a hearing to determine if a nuisance exists and setting a public hearing on the request for June 1, 2020 at 6 p.m. Item M is third consideration of ordinance amending Chapter 165 zoning regulations regarding bulk storage of petroleum products. Item N is third consideration of ordinance amending Chapter 110 natural gas franchise pertaining to franchise fees. And item O is a resolution approving salaries.
Move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Good discussion. Jackie, roll call, please.
Councilmember Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin,
I've recused.
No.
Or,
you're
No,
good.
you
oh,
pulled.
go
You're
ahead,
good.
Holt, go ahead, okay. Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Thank you, Jackie. Item P is claims of the computer printout for May 18th, 2020.
Mayor, members of council, thank you. Councilwoman Hewlin had a question or recused herself from the claims. On the claims, it has, there's EE liability and employer portion. These are the fees that the city pays as part of the wellness program to anybody that belongs to the Y. We also have a number of employees that are in other fitness centers. So those are also on your claims report. So that's what those payments are that member Hewlin had asked about.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Move to approve item P.
Second.
Discussion? Jackie?
Councilmember Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Recuse this time.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Very good. Item 6 is Supervisor Scholl's City Treasurer Report. Welcome back, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, council members. You have 4 reports. Yeah, let's see, we brought it, last meeting we did November, so we got December, January, February, and March. And Andy and I have had just a little conversation about it. It's an awful lot of detail, but I think that there were a couple negative balances. One of them was capital projects on streets, and the other one was the new sewer construction. And I'm sure that has to do with architecture fees or whatever, because I don't think they put a spade in the ground yet out there. But just a couple observations. The interest rate dropped on our investments between November and the end of March, probably down about 100 basis points, which is 1%. They're probably going to drop even further. One of the issues, and we haven't seen it over at the county yet, the property taxes that were due at the end of March that really we transferred to you all, being the city or the school district or whatever. I think they were normal, so that's a good thing. One of the things that maybe we're a little concerned about is those people who didn't pay in, so what would it be, September and March. In the summer, they have what they call a tax sale. It's in June. And it's to be seen how that all works out. But I meant to get how much that normally is, and I did not get that done, but I will do a little research on that. Yeah, the balances, I think we're kind of fortunate that the balances in many of the funds have grown. Especially, we don't know what this virus is going to do to us. So, and we do have a couple more months being April, May, and June that could make it, obviously the balances will decrease, but that's sort of my report from a lot of detail and lots of numbers, but I think we're okay at this point.
That sounds better than not okay, I guess, right?
Right.
Is that an Auburn shirt you have on, Doug?
That is. I went to a football game down there, took my grandson down because I knew the president of Iowa State. And of course, he got the Auburn job, of which it's been taken away from him since. I don't know what happened.
Jack it back.
Yeah. Yeah, he gave it to me. It was something that was clean this morning. So. That's my theory.
Fair enough. You look very nice. I thought it was Auburn. As an SEC alum, I had to point that out. So
Yeah.
Thanks, Doug. Any questions for Supervisor Scholl? If not, then we should probably accept his report.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
First and second, further discussion. Jackie, please.
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Bravo report, Mr. Kling.
Oh, and Jackie, before I forget, I'll probably do a Metro report the next meeting.
Okay.
Metro advisory, so.
Okay. We need to
Um,
receive and file the EMS billing activity. Is that on?
Mayor, we've got page 158,
6A.
6A.
Can I skip that? Sorry, Greg. Thank you for that. I can't have my glasses on when I'm on the computer, so I can't see so well. But thanks, Greg. 6A, sorry, apologies. Receive and file November 2019 to March 2020 EMS billing activity monthly reports.
I move to receive and file the November 2019, March 2020 EMS billing activity monthly reports.
Second.
Thanks, John. All right, Jackie.
Councilmember Kling,
aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Very good. Thanks again for that, Greg. 7A, Bravo report, Mr. Kling.
Yes, I spent many hours during the month of May. I'm working on the grants for Bravo. I'm on the Community Investment Committee, which is the grant making committee, and finished up. And then the entire committee met on May 11th. We did a Zoom meeting, but May 11th to discuss the funding recommendations for the capital project grants and the public art grants. There was $150,000 that was available for each program. There were 17 applications and over $450,000 in requests for each program. We did award $150,000 to each program. I can't tell you who we recommended the awards to, since it has to be voted on by the entire board for approval at the June 9th board meeting. And then after that, I'll be able to make a public announcement. A subgroup of the Finance and Sustainability Committee has been meeting to discuss their operating budgets and sustainability calculations for FY20. The full committee met on May 15th and reviewed preliminary assumptions and calculations, and a full budget will be presented to the board at the June meeting. Keep in mind that the Metro Arts and Cultural organizations like the Des Moines Arts Center, Des Moines Metro Opera, and others get a substantial amount for their budgets each year from Bravo. And Bravo gets its money from the hotel motel tax, and no one is staying in hotels right now. So that's why Bravo is busy trying to get their finances figured out for the next year. And because of this, Bravo will host an informal meeting with all the Bravo cultural partners to provide an open forum for connection and collaboration. And more than 50 of the different cultural partners participated, and they're going to continue to do this because Bravo's trying to help them. And they're trying to, they're all trying to figure out what we're doing and going to do during this time. So that's pretty much what I have.
Okay, Bob, thank you. Any questions for Bob? Thanks, Bob, for your service. We'll make sure you're on the agenda next time as well. Moving on to the mayor's report, a number of different things, of course, going on in the community. We remain quite active. Want to drag attention to a number of different things that are positive. Feed It Forward, which has been collecting food and other resources for those who have been struck by the COVID-19 virus, particularly hard. We'll be having another food drive on May 31st. They've been in the past distributing food to a number of different shelters and food opportunities among the community, including Helping Hand and other groups there as well. If you are interested in donating, you can do that online. You can let me know, or you can go online to the Facebook page. We'll be picking that up on May 31st. So it was successful a couple of weeks ago when we did it. And so if you have an interest in donating to that, either constituents or anybody on council, please feel free to contact the folks at Feed It Forward, which is available on Facebook, or you can send me an email at my city email address and we'll get you lined up. I want to say congratulations to Hill House of Iowa. They have successfully fundraised and secured a location for their planning. And so they are as well looking for volunteers to make contributions to their good work that they're doing here in the community. I want to, not just saying this because Doug's there, although he may have left already, but I wanted to say a shout out to Warren County, particularly the public health folks. I noticed that Councilman Parker was on the phone this morning as well, and I've been very impressed with their communications. We do give praises, of course, to the city and the good work that they're doing during these extraordinary circumstances, but I've been very impressed with the county and the work that they've done in terms of keeping track of not only those infected, but also how those infected are doing. I did issue a proclamation on Friday afternoon, largely just to bring to people's attention again that the governor does actively send out proclamations asking citizens to social distance and to engage in appropriate ways, given that the COVID-19 virus is still there. We're all familiar with the controversy surrounding it and opening things back up. I think goes a long way in terms of what the mayor says, that it is important for us to take these things our own responsibility. And of course, we don't want government telling us what to do. So do pay attention to those proclamations, and my proclamations that simply reinforce what the governor is saying in that regard. Other than that, do have a number of different things under item B for consideration for council under community update. And the first, and I guess the only one, is to consider the nomination of Sally Van Doren to the Indianola Board of Trustees effective July 1st, 2020, and running for a 6-year term. through June 30th, 2026. You do have in a packet Sally's background. As you probably know, Sally was a teacher in the Indianola Community School Districts starting in August of 1979 and ending for the first time in 2000, then coming back and teaching for another 15 years from 2005 to 2020. She does also have a background during those 5 years that was missing as a teacher, working in Indianola Public Library as a children's librarian. You can see that on her resume, as she does also have a certification as a public librarian from the state of Iowa. So you have that information in front of you for her consideration this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Great candidate. Thank you for stepping forward.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, council. We'll move on to public consideration. Item 9, as always, taking old business first, the new business. Item 1 under 9A1 is the Code of Ordinances. We start that with a public hearing. And so at this time, I would like to open a public hearing to consider adoption of the 2020 revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Indianola, Iowa. Jackie, any comments?
We do have the phone lines live also.
I think you were trying to say the phone line's live.
Correct. I'm just not by the microphone.
The 515-962-5240, that one?
That was me during my echo. You couldn't see.
Ventriloquist.
No, just the.
That's an awesome graphic, by the way.
Increasing our production value here.
Probably bothers the sign guy in the room. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was that?
You're the sign guy.
But it is centered, John, at least, centered.
I might come up with another one for the next meeting.
An improvement?
Yeah, I tried the whole life.
I'll give it just another 10 seconds here. Again, those of you watching online, if you'd like to participate, you can dial 962-5240 locally. In any of the public hearings, we'll be having 3 different public hearings this evening. Hearing no comments, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing and move on to item B, which is first consideration of an ordinance adopting the 2020 revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Indianola, Iowa.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Thanks, council. Item 2 under the same old business is the comprehensive plan for the City of Indianola. Also a public hearing for Elevate Indianola comprehensive plan update prepared with the citizens of Indianola. Ryan, if you want to say just a few words on this, I know you've been the focal point of this, so appreciate your engagement here.
Real quick, Mayor, can I step back real quick? I just have one quick question for the codification. How quickly will that be before that's live to where you can do the search online?
We'll have to find out and get back to everybody.
All right.
It's after it's approved. I have to send them the paperwork. and then
Okay.
look at it.
I think hopefully people will realize how big of a deal that is when they want to go search code.
And I don't know how long I don't know if they have it pre-indexed already.
Okay. All
I
right.
would like it. That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be very nice.
That'd be
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
No worries. Thanks, John.
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead. We're an open session, open public hearing then for Elevate Indianola. Thanks, Ryan.
yeah, thanks, Mayor, members of council. So Charlie's on in the Zoom meeting room. So he's been running point on this and has done a great job. This is 15 months worth of work on the part of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the members of the community, very engaged. We had open houses. The Planning and Zoning Commission has vetted this a couple times. I think they had it over 3 meetings, but this is really just the foundation of pretty much everything that the city does. So this sets the framework, the long-term vision. It's meant to be high level. It's not meant to be down in the weeds. It's a visionary document, but it sets the foundation of everything we do. So if and when the council approves this document, we're going to pivot right from that point. And Charlie's already started working on getting quotes to get a consultant to come in and help us then go over and do a comprehensive review of our zoning code, subdivision site plans, sign code, a whole slew of different codes, which will then parks, one of the parkland dedication, that's a big topic of discussion. Actually, there's a letter in your packet from the Parks and Rec Commission about that very topic. So those are the types of codes then that would come from this. That would be, the consultant would work with staff, planning and zoning, series of workshops, and ultimately up to the city council. So long process. It's going to continue on, and rubber is going to start hitting the road here really, really soon with this new comp plan.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, a lot of, again, as you mentioned, a very long process, a lot of engagement from the community. And so, as always, applaud the community for their engagement, certainly staff and Charlie and Ryan, and really everybody who's had a hand in that. There was desperately needed, something that I know that Mr. Parker and I heard from day one when we first came on council. And so appreciate that hard work there.
Ryan, will any of that change or just codes? I'm thinking about the census once we get the final census report when that comes back in, or will that just be individual codes that would have to be changed? Or...
Oh, with the census, once we get the census data back, the code that would change is we would have to implement an inspection program for rental. And that's required by state code of anything 15,000 and above. So that's really the only code that would be impacted as a result of the census that I'm aware of at this point. So.
Further questions? All right. Very good. Anything, Jackie, on the phone?
No phone or emails.
Very good. Thank you. They probably had enough time to contact. So at this time, I will close the public hearing for Elevate Indianola and move on to item 2B, which is a resolution adopting Elevate Indianola comprehensive plan update prepared with the citizens of Indianola.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Discussion?
I guess I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that was part of the process. I know planning and zoning put a lot of extra effort and time and extra meetings into it, and that's why we have those people in there, and we've got a good group there, and I'm really glad they spent the extra time and made it our plan, because sometimes when you bring consultants in, even though you know, they're somewhat familiar with the community and they spend a bunch of time down here talking with people, sometimes you still kind of need to fine tune it. And I think planning and zoning did that, and I really appreciate that time. And then as well as the community itself for the response we had. I was very, very happy with the, while I know it's not all scientific data, but we did get great response from the community online and taking advantage of the program that they had, that Snyder had for us. So I'm excited. I think this sets the tone for growth and for the future of Indianola. You know, it starts that, you know, it's kind of, as Greg used to talk about, you know, we as council and elected officials, and we go in and we set that roadmap, and then we hand it over to staff and let them build the road. So I think we've done this first step, and I'm excited to see where we can go the next few years.
Well said, John. Yeah, the interesting meeting watching planning and zoning as they were kicking it around. Interesting meeting there, certainly. Any other comments? Very good. Jackie, have we taken a vote already?
No, I can do roll call.
Thank you.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Thanks, Jackie. Item 3 is the sign exemption request from Ryan Schroeder of Iowa Sign Company on behalf of Z's Eatery and Draft House. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for a sign exemption request from aforementioned Ryan Schroeder of Iowa Sign Company on behalf of Z's Eatery and Draft House located at 1501 North First Street. Any comments received, Jackie?
Not yet. I'm waiting to see if anybody calls.
Music.
What prizes do
Bob
we have
Craig.
for callers?
Hearing none and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing for the sign exemption and move on to item 3B, which is resolution approving the sign exemption request from Ryan Schroeder of Iowa Signs Company on behalf of Z's Eatery and Draft House located at 1501 North First Street.
Motion to approve.
Second,
First and second discussion.
this is a pretty good indication of why we need to update our
Yeah.
sign code. We've had 4 or 5 in the last year, I think, so.
Yeah, for sure. Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Very good. Item 10 is other business, city managers report. Mr. Waller.
Can I ask a question before we do the report? Another business, or should I wait until after? It's about
It's entirely up to
Mayor Shaw.
Councilmember.
Yeah.
I was really happy to see you bring forth Sally, and I tried to interrupt you earlier, but that's the thing with Zoom, you couldn't hear me. I just wondered if you could give me an update on your conversation with Lori Smith as a candidate for IMU board.
I've not met with her yet. I'd like to meet with her face to face, and given the outbreak, I've not met with her face to face, although that's once we get a little less social distancing in place, that's my plan. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your kind words about Sally. Ryan, 10A, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just 2 really quick announcements. We've been advertising this on social media. Actually, I've got 3. Advertising this on social media, May 20th. Parks and Rec staff are going to be working on the northern medians, so we'll have those annual lane closures. So if you're watching, please be aware of that. Then we got word from Sternquist, which is our contractor that's going to be working on the traffic signalization project, which also includes the restructuring of that 1 block of Iowa adjacent to Moats Park. So that's going to take place, I think, starting the 2nd week of June. So we're going to be doing advertisements as we do normally, social media, website. We'll also be sending a letter to the residents in that area. And then just lastly, from a logistical standpoint, what we're going to do is we've got executive session. We're going to, when we adjourn into executive session, what we'll do is we're going to leave the Zoom feed live. We're going to phone in, so we'll have to, everybody will drop off, or they're going to suspend the Zoom. We're going to call the participants for executive session. So we're going to do the executive session telephonically, and then we'll come back out. For anybody watching, I know Amy Duncan's watching. She and I've had this conversation before. The way when Alex has to sync everything back up and kind of get rescheduled to go live, just in case we miss anything, there is no action being requested of council coming out of executive session. The only action would then go right into the study session. We've got a brief presentation. So just being completely out there, what's going to happen and what to expect to happen. So other than that, just receive and file correspondence from May 1 and May 8th.
Motion to receive and file correspondence from May 1, May 8th.
Second.
You're on mute.
Story of my life. Sorry about that. Thanks, Ryan. I do have first and second. Jackie, you want to take roll call?
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Southall. Aye. Marchant.
Aye.
Ryan, also, you sent out an email to everybody today regarding the reopening of council. And a couple of weeks ago, you talked about the the time, not quite the timeline, but the different steps and whatnot. Could you just provide a quick update before we go into executive session on that, please?
Yeah, happy to. So we're still operating under that reopen plan that we shared with council. We do update it on a regular basis. We've put it in the last couple of weekly emails. We did not include it in this last weekly email only because there was no update to be added. The last major update was the opening of the campgrounds. That's the only change that's really impacted the city. We've talked, we're going to use that document as kind of our decision-making process. We're trying to avoid putting some sort of artificial deadline on, because as I communicated to you all over the weekend, we've now surpassed the double digits. So our numbers continue to rise with COVID. So that's a data factor that we're going to continue to evaluate as we make the decisions on opening up different facilities or implementing different programs. We want to be very cautious, especially with opening up this facility because of the presence of our first responders. We want to make sure that they are not being exposed, but at the same time, we also don't want to expose any members of the public or members of our team. As I put in the email to the resident that was making that inquiry, and as I've shared with the council previously, disruption of services has been minimal, with the exception of things like programming, such as like country line dancing or yoga, things that are having to do in a class setting. The brush facility, we did postpone for a little bit, but now that's up and running. But from the standpoint of if somebody makes a phone call, they're getting a staff member. If somebody needs to have an appointment, we do have the activity center open that we can schedule face-to-face by appointment only. Staff is responding to emails and phone calls. So I think we've been fairly successful in minimizing any sort of disruption that service delivery looks like to the residents. And we're just going to continue to evaluate it, taking into account CDC recommendations, Governor Reynolds' proclamations, and then just the data that we're receiving. We got several emails over the weekend from Chief Chia advising on the upticks in those confirmed cases here in town.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, still not out of the woods. Again, the county has those numbers and still not out of the woods. Doug Byland, I don't know if you're listening actively or not. You probably are, I'm sure, knowing you. Any problems in terms of the campgrounds out east of town? My mic says it's on, so anyway.
I don't know if you can hear me, but
We can.
we haven't had any problems there yet.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I know you've been in communication with the police, so thanks, Doug. Hope you're well. Item B then is to move into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 21.51C, discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the government body in that litigation.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Thank you. Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Hi.
Southall. Aye. Martin.
Aye.
Very good. Thanks, staff, for your attendance.
Mayor, you can just mute that and we'll call you as well as the other attendees.
No, they'll take care of muting. We don't need to close out of our Zoom.
Yeah, no, I just, right, no, don't close out of
Yeah,
it.
don't
Okay.
Just-
But mute.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
City Attorney Doug Fulton.
No.
Mayor, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to make your spiel about?
I would like nothing more than to make my spiel. So the time is currently 6:54 p.m. No decisions were made in the executive session. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I won't even ask for discussion, but go ahead, Jackie.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Thanks, Jackie. Ryan, you ready to move on into this?
Yeah, we'll need to adjourn the regular meeting and
We
then,
did.
oh, you did, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my computer up. Yes.
Aye.
Oh, I forgot about it.
You hadn't been hiding behind that map.
It was too high up, to cover my eyes.
Okay, Mayor, I'm ready to go.
Okay. I don't know if it's just one continual thing. So very good. We'll call this council study meeting to session. It's been a while since we had one of these. May 18th, 2020, 6:55 p.m. The only thing on tonight's agenda is the discussion and direction regarding the sewer connection districts. And as you can see, Mr. Waller has a presentation ready for that. And so go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, Mayor, thank you, members of council. Sewer connection districts, we previously provided. We've had this conversation previously over the years. Sewer connection districts are established by city code, and what they are is they set up a recapture arrangement when the city goes out and puts the sanitary sewer out in an area ahead of time. And then through the connection district, they established a fee that when somebody develops in that area, it recovers the cost of that public investment. So this is chapter 100 of the city code. This graphic here is an illustration of where those districts are, and we have them color coded. Green is where development has not occurred. Red is where development has occurred. And then orange is a little bit unique, which I'll explain here in a second. I will back up and just say that over the last years, we've had these conversations. And one of the things that has driven these conversations with council is the fact that in the code, when these were established, they have a base rate, but then they have compounding interest from then on out. So the city has about 19 of these established in the 1990s, all the way to about 2011. Those date ranges are in your packet. And what we've heard from certain developers as they've come through to look at some available ground is, holy cow, this is very expensive. We've got two examples for you. This first one here is a recent purchase of probably about 2 years ago now. New Heights Church purchased the area that is outlined in light blue on the screen. If you look at the schedule or the chart on the right-hand side, when this district was established in 2002, the base fee was $3,688 per acre. So for New Heights Church, this would have equated to about $29,000, just rounding up. In today's, when they contacted the city, so last year, June 2019, when this fee would have been established, they would have had to pay $77,000. So that's a difference of $48,000. When they found out about it, they started looking at alternative plans, especially after they went ahead and closed on the property. So now they're stuck with this property wanting to build, and that's a large chunk of change. This is another area. This is over west, just to orient you. The structure on the top right part of the screen is the Catholic Church. And then the outlined rectangle in light blue is about 18.5 acres that is owned by Mike Vanderpool. Now, if you look at this area right here, the area immediately to the south of that was also owned and developed by Mr. Vanderpool. At that time, he paid $2,421 an acre. It's now up to $4,685 an acre. So just to pay for the rest of that acreage to develop and connect to, we're talking about a difference of $41,000. And we've talked to Mr. Vanderpool a couple of times. He's like, I can't develop it. There's no way. It's too costly to develop with this connection fee. So working with Andy, Rick Graves, Diana Bolin before she retired, and myself, Charlie's helped with this process, talked to legal counsel and said, what are our options here? Can we amend something? And so we spent some time looking at the code, what could be done. And we run into challenges where there has been connections that have been made because you would have to go through a process then to refund, do public hearings and all sorts of logistical things that create a lot of work for where the city would have to give back several thousands of dollars. And so what we did was we started to zero in on these districts. These are all the districts. This is a summary sheet that's included in your packet, but all the districts that are highlighted in green or yellow on the screen, these are those, and these are a majority of the districts where the option exists for the council to go ahead and amend the code back to the base rate. So the city still, the enterprise fund, the sewer fund is still collecting what that investment was. So the enterprise fund is being made whole, but just eliminate the compounding interest, making it more reasonable to develop. The reason why the one Highway 92 West Sewer Subdistrict number 2 is highlighted different, and this is going back to that orange provision, the orange section on the code, is that connection district is actually still owned by the original person that made the investment, so Mr. Vanderpool. So we would not have to go back through the process to do a public hearing. And since he's still the one that controls the property and still would be the one to develop the property, we don't have to do any of that, the logistical hoops that we would have to jump through otherwise. It's been a very long process. We spent a lot of time talking to legal counsel from both Allers and Cooney as well as Brick Gentry. Spent a lot of staff time trying to piece together the records because over the years, the record keeping at the city has not been up to par. There's stick-it notes saying that so-and-so was going to pay on a certain date and things like that. There's been a number of instances where in some of the districts where a fee should have been paid, maybe a portion of it was paid. So those are things that we had to kind of navigate through but at the end of the day, the cleanest option forward, if the council wants to do anything with this, is to amend the code and remove that interest provision and just go back to the base rates for those different districts. And if you, I'm sorry, this is out of order, but this slide's also in your packet. It just kind of shows what they would go back to. The green ones is up and the orange one is the one Mr. Vanderpool has. So again, that's in your packet. So if the council concurs with that recommendation, what we would do is we'd work with legal counsel, go through the necessary posting, have them prepare the code amendments, public hearing, and bring it forward to council. And then we would just continue to monitor now that we're dealing with a much smaller group to see what the feedback is, see if there's anything else we need to do.
That makes a lot of sense. We've been waiting a long time to get this sewer connection fee figured out, and if the compound interest takes care of it, I think we'd be silly not to try to move
It's been a
forward.
known problem for quite a while. It's been a known problem for quite a
Oh,
while.
has it?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Predating you, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was probably one of the first couple of years Greg and I were on council that came up. So
Yeah.
Okay, and just to be clear, this would be only for those districts that had no development whatsoever, with the exception of the one that Mike Vanderpool has. And that's only because Mike Vanderpool is the person that we would have had to otherwise reimburse if we made a change.
Right.
So, okay, so then what happens on the ones that where there has been development, but there's not been there, but
At this point, staff is recommending just leave those alone, leave those fees where they're at. When you look at some of those fees in detail, a lot of them are not, they don't have the compounding interest. Some of them don't have that at all.
Okay.
Or some of them are not calculated in the same way. It's not per acre, it may be by feet. So they're much more reasonable in nature, but some of them do have compounding interest. And if, again, we would continue to monitor that and share any sort of feedback that we get on those, and alert council if there's any other issues that we need to address.
And then we'll need to get to something that's consistent, whether it's feet or acres, right, as we move forward?
In talking with legal counsel, we'd recommend just leave the simplest, cleanest way is just leave it as is by those districts. And so when, development comes in, it goes to Charlie, he has his preliminary meeting with them,
Okay.
goes through and says, hey, this is what you have. And then we go through and then it would be collected as part of the permit process. And
but going forward, anything new we would do, we would come up with hopefully something much more consistent and simple. That, I mean, not even talking about these, I'm talking about just sewer districts in general going forward.
Oh, if we're establishing
Something new, if we something, yeah.
I would, that would be the
Is that
goal.
part of the code?
Yeah, I
code
mean,
plan?
kind of what we talked about internally as a staff is, for my experience and others on the team, that has been that normally you have one uniform
Right.
charge. So anywhere a connection's made within the district, that's what it is.
Right.
And so it would be a flat, much more manageable rate because you're looking at the system as a whole versus these smaller sections.
Right.
So
And why was the compounding, why was that put in to begin with?
don't know. We spent some time trying to think through that. The one thing that we had was it a carrot or stick? Hey, hurry up, otherwise you're going to miss your chance to try to promote it. But don't know.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any other questions for Ryan?
No, just more of a comment. I'm glad that staff's taken time to do something to address it because you very easily stick your head in the sand and ignore it like it's been done for a long time. So that sounds like a really daunting task. So.
Yeah, and credit goes to Rick and Diana. They really spent a lot of time digging through files and trying to make heads or tails of this. And Owen with PFM, which is very similar to like a DA Davidson, helped us kind of do some of the analysis and really audit that. So it was very detailed work. So. And all the reports are all in your packet. So all we need is some sort of direction on.
Ryan, can I ask a quick question here? Reading Maria Brownell's memo. So if I'm hearing you correctly, even though she goes through these three different questions, it's not the city's position that they would be refunding any of those connection fees from previous connectors. Is that correct?
Correct. That would be our recommendation. Maria and I've talked about that. It becomes very challenging to do that, to go back and try to recoup, especially after several years. It was the city's fault at the beginning to not collect the full amount or to undercharge. There was one instance, I think, where against advice from legal counsel, previous city council did waive a provision, which when talking with Allers and Cooney, they said, don't waive this. This is on code, because then you create a situation where somebody has received a better benefit than somebody else, which is why the logistics for going through and trying to refund in order to eliminate compounding interest through all the districts would be very complicated, very legalistic. And so in talking with her, it would be a very steep legal hill for the city to climb in order to recoup.
Right. Yeah, that was my take just by a cursory read of her opinions here. So I'm glad we're not getting into that. Did Maria say, was there any further exposure by taking the route that was just discussed in terms of other litigation or other suits?
No, no. In fact, I mean, the recommendation that's before you and the council is the joint recommendation from the entire team, which includes Maria. This is, and that's why the property outlined or controlled by Mr. Vanderpool is of significance, is that with all the other ones where there has been no development, there is nobody in those districts that would have standing to challenge on this. You don't have to deal with any sort of refund. And then with Mr. Vanderpool's, he is the one that would have legal standing, and he's getting that, he's going back to that base fee, which helps him develop his property anyway.
Right. Yeah, good. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? You have enough direction, Ryan, you believe?
I do, yes, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else good for the order? If nothing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, don't need to. You can just cancel it.
Retract.
Yeah.
Oh, should I not be standing yet?
Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks.